first seen a 2 terabyte SD card 10 years ago, I would gone completely nuts. Like, how is this even possible? A standard 2 terabyte hard disk is this size. To make this theoretically possible, they need to shrink this down into the size of this. And if you thought this is impressive, theoretically, this new modern SD card can hold storage up to 8,155 terabytes. So that's just in theory. No, I'm not gonna do that. To understand how they shrunk it down to this tiny size, you need to know how flash memory works. All of this wizardry is achieved through a process called quantum tunneling. Think of your memory as three main parts. There is a channel, there is a trap, and there is a gate. When a positive charge is applied at the gate, negatively charged electrons are attracted and end up in the charge trap. But how do they allow us to store more data into a small form factor? SD cards or MicroSD works by trapping electrons. If the cell traps an electron, it stores a 1. If not, it stores a 0. To make all of this more simplified and more easy to explain, let's take a look at another example. Imagine there's three things: an LED bulb and a capacitor and a battery. If you attach the LED bulb with a capacitor, it will not produce light
because there is no current inside of it. But if you attach the battery with the capacitor for a few seconds, then reattach the LED bulb with the capacitor, the bulb will light up. Engineers use this property of a capacitor to build memory. When it has a current inside, it gives a value. When it has no current, it gives a 0. Except we use transistors instead of capacitors. But for simplified explanation, we will be sticking with the capacitor. To show how we read and write data, let's attach a few more capacitors with the battery. When the data is arrayed from the CPU, the battery will send current only to the cell it needs to assign a 1. Now you know how the data is stored. Let's take a look at it, how it's read. Reading the data is a fairly simple process. All you gotta do is find out which capacitor has a current inside of it. All of this is an overly simplified explanation. In modern flash memory, we don't use LED or the capacitors, and inside the modern memory, all of this process is handled by a controller. Now that we know how a MicroSD works, let's explain how all of this allows us to store more data. And once again, we'll be going back to our overly simplified explanation. Remember the cells inside the capacitors. Newer technology allows this cell to store not just zeros and ones, but up to 60 different levels up to data, which means each cell can hold up to 4 bits of information instead of just one. So with that, you could theoretically make an SD card with 8,155 terabytes. But there's real world limitations such as corrupt files, overheating, errors make it hard to reach that number. As of right now, you got 4 tiers of storage capacity according to SD Card Association. You got the standard, which is up to 2 gigabits. You got the high capacity, which is 2 gigabits to 32 gigabits. Extreme capacity, which is 32 gigabits to 2 terabits. Ultra capacity, which is 2 terabit to 128 terabits. So 128 terabits. Yeah, that is insane. You know what else is insane? 1.6 petabits. Well, I am not talking about the SD card right now. I'm talking about this. There's a recent scientific breakthrough allow us to store 1.6 petabits of storage into this round compact disk. To learn more about it, check out this video. I'll see you inside.